One of the primary questions is, what is this thing called reality? Can you and I, living our daily lives, not retiring into a monastery or becoming disciples of some guru or running off to some strange academy in India, can we find this reality for ourselves? And we must, not through prayers, nor imitation, nor following somebody, but through becoming aware of our own conditioning, seeing it actually, not theoretically, seeing as you would see a flower, a cloud, and seeing without separation. I do not know if you have ever tried to look at anything, to look, for example, at your own wife or husband, to look without the image that you or he has built through a relationship of many years, of many irritations, pleasures, angers, to look at each other without the image. I do not know if you have ever tried this, but if you have, you will have found how extraordinarily difficult it is to be free of images. It is these images which are expected to enter into relationship, not human beings. You have an image about me, and I have an image about you, and the relationship is between these two images with their symbols, associations, and memories. I am Samyogi. Welcome to episode number 84 of the Krishnamurti podcast. In yesterday's episode, we wrapped up the talk portion of the 9th talk at Oman, Holland, delivered by jkrishnamurti on August 10th, 1933. Today is October 18th, 2025, and it's a Saturday. We shall revisit parts of this 9th talk because I think it's important to really understand what Krishnamurti has said in this talk before we delve into a few questions and answers from the same day which followed the talk. So let's listen in. We have an idea that completeness, wholeness can be understood or realized through a part. You come with your particular problem and you try to seek a solution for that particular problem and try to apply what I have been saying little by little to that particular problem. You hope to understand that wholeness, that completeness through a particular part, through a particular problem. Now the idea of a series of ideas forming a teaching or of coming to the whole through any one of these single ideas is to me utterly false. So let's take a breather and understand the definition that Krishnamurti is giving to, within quotes, teaching. He says, a series of ideas form a teaching. His exact words, the idea of a series of ideas forming a teaching or of coming to the whole through any one of these single ideas is to me utterly false. First of all, you say, I am giving you a certain teaching. Then you take a single idea from the whole and try to apply that one idea to your particular problem. So you hope to come to the fullness of the whole through the particular. Now, you come here with the mentality that whatever is troubling you, you want to have solved and hope that you will find a solution through a particular teaching that I am giving by using one of the ideas of that teaching as a means of solving your problem. That is, by gradually accumulating and understanding a series of problems, you hope you will come to the fullness of the totality, that immensity of life. So you say to yourself, I shall grow into the whole through understanding, through gathering many particulars. So let's take a breather again. He says, whatever is troubling you, you want it solved. And you will find a solution through a particular teaching. And that particular teaching has a series of ideas. And you apply one of these ideas to solve your problem. And then he says, by gradually accumulating and understanding a series of problems, you think you will come to the fullness of the totality. So there is a problem. You apply an idea to solve that problem. There is another problem. You pick another idea from a series of ideas or a set of ideas you call a teaching. You pick another idea and you apply it to solve another problem. Then you have a third problem and you solve it by applying a third idea from a set or series of ideas you call a teaching, and you accumulate thus solutions to problems, and by that can you reach the whole? Krishnamurti is questioning that. Now let's understand what he means by the whole. He further says, with all these accumulations, with these methods, you seek to understand what I am saying. Each one has a different problem, and you come to listen to me in the hope that applying one idea of which I am talking to your special problem, you will come to the totality, to the wholeness. Most of us are crippled with that idea that we shall come to the whole, WHO, whole, 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 through a part. Now this is an intriguing theme if you understand it. So when he says accumulations, he means ideas which have been used to solve problems one at a time. A particular problem, a particular solution, a particular idea. It's an accumulation, it sticks to your memory, and he means by accumulation, solution to that problem, the application of his idea, one of his ideas to the solution of the problem. With all these accumulations, with these methods, you seek to understand what I am saying. Each one has a different problem, and you come to listen to me in the hope that applying one idea of which I am talking to your special problem, you will come to the totality, to the wholeness. Most of us are crippled with that idea. Which idea? That we shall come to the whole through a part. Now with that idea you come and say, please help me to understand my particular problem. Do not look at what I have been saying with that idea of trying to solve a problem, because I want to show that in understanding one experience, the whole is realized. In understanding the cause of one problem, you will understand the whole. If you approach the problem intelligently. As it is now, we make an effort, like a fish caught in a net, to escape from that problem or to seek a solution of that problem, to be rid of it. We say to ourselves, if I can only be rid of the many hindrances, then I shall realize the whole. So you make a tremendous effort to be rid of these hindrances. Okay, let's take a breather and understand what he said here. He says, Krishnamurti says, that you don't have to bring forward a second problem after you have solved your first problem by applying one idea. You don't have to bring forth the second problem and solve it by applying another of Krishnamurti's ideas. Krishnamurti says that in understanding one experience, the whole is realized. He says again, do not look at what I have been saying with that idea of trying to solve a problem, because I want to show that in understanding one experience, the whole is realized. In understanding the cause of one problem, you will understand the whole. If you approach the problem intelligently, as it is now, we make an effort like a fish caught in a net to escape from that problem or to seek a solution of that problem, to be rid of it. We say to ourselves, if I can only be rid of the many hindrances, then I shall realize the whole. So, what Krishnamurti is hinting at is the normal human psychology of one who has woken up, who is no longer sleeping, only to realize that he has a lot of problems. He is, as to say, in a crisis. That is the first thing to realize. We'll see that in a while. Unless you are in a crisis, you will not be able to face your hindrances. So let's assume that he has reached that and finds himself in a series of problems. And he picks up one problem, solves it, then the other problems are still there. A lot of problems. And he tries to carry them one at a time or two at a time. Krishnamurti says that's not the way. Krishnamurti says, you pick a problem, you understand it, you solve it. It's an experience. And in understanding the experience, have you awakened your intelligence? For if you have, then you have solved all problems, the crisis, without making an effort. That's why he says, so you make a tremendous effort to be rid of these hindrances. What I want to show is that where there is effort to be rid of something, you create another barrier. Whereas in the movement of action in the present, there is awareness of the hindrances which prevent you from action. Now we say, I must be rid of the hindrances in order to realize that totality of life. So you make an effort to get rid of these hindrances. But in fact, in your desire to conquer truth, you are merely running away from your hindrances when you say you must get rid of them. Okay, let's take a breather and understand how. Because I am reading what K says next to understand, and as required, I'll stop to reflect. Hey, that's the podcast. Krishnamurti says, because your longing for truth is so great, you run away from your hindrances. So in trying to conquer your hindrances, you are like a fish caught in a net, whereas in the movement of action, you will become aware of the hindrances And in that awareness, you will be freed of these hindrances. Let me take a pause. So I understand what hindrances are because I podcast daily. And before these 9 talks at Oman, the Netherlands, I podcasted the content on 4 talks at Alpino and 2 talks at Stresa, Italy. So 6 plus 9, 15 talks. Well, I skipped the first talk maybe at Stresa and the first 2 or the first in Alpino. So 3 plus 1, 4 plus 9, 13 talks. And in most of these talks in Alpino, the 3 that I covered, he talks about hindrances or barriers which impede action. So I understand hindrances. Do you? From a common sense perspective, whatever prevents you from completing an action is a hindrance, is a barrier. So he took some names which I kind of effortlessly have memorized by now because I talk about it from podcast to podcast. He says these hindrances or barriers are barriers like security, authority, tradition, prejudice, fear, and postponement. Obvious to understand easily are a couple because I ran it by folks, my blood relatives, and I said, do you understand that one of these, postponement, impedes action, makes action incomplete because you postpone it? They say, yeah, fear also. So they understand, or they understood, that out of fear we do not take action. What will people think? Or will this work? Or will this rub me off the wrong way? So when there is fear, there are other corollaries like finances, like bank accounts, like security, physical and psychological. Now, I have jumped to security. It's a barrier, as Krishnamurti says, because of which we pander to authority or we look up to authority and we succumb to authority out of fear. So fear, and he has talked about this, we have talked about it in a prior podcast where Krishnamurti says that I know you obey authority not because you love authority but out of fear. Now that is true in, for example, current corporate settings worldwide, whether it's India or America. You will be kicked out of the job if you don't listen to the authority. Now I am not talking about energy. If you have a lot of energy, you love authority. The same thing with, you love authority because the authority will promote you. You will supersede others. You can become CEO. I am not talking about that. I am talking about normal situations where you have to keep a job and your boss or the founder of the company can fire you. I mean, it has happened to me. I challenged the status quo, but I maintained it because I was taught in the business school I went to long time ago in a course called Leadership and Change. You challenge the status quo, that is leadership, but you maintain it. Now, it was not as radical an approach as Krishnamurti's, but I did that. But I always had fear. I stood up to the boss. I demanded more stock options. Those were the days when they were in vogue, stock options. I demanded a pay raise. And he came back to me saying, Sam, I can't. He tolerated me, but I pushed him. And it was a good relationship. And I understood also that as long as a relationship is good, you reward someone when it tanks, you punish the person. So that's the reason the professor in the business school said, challenge the status quo, but maintain it. I hope you get the idea. Maintain it. If you maintain the status quo, everything is honky-dory. If you challenge it, it's a disturbance. And out of the disturbance comes leadership. Now let's move back to the content here, which is the theme for today. The theme is action and hindrances which impede action. And we have covered postponement, fear, security, and authority. Now Krishnamurti did talk about two more, prejudice and tradition. And it's common sense. I will not go into that. Your tradition may impede you from doing certain things. You may not want to do, thinking what the society will say, what people will say. If I have no money, I have a nice car, but if I drive Uber, what will people say? So that's an example. It's a tradition or a prejudice that I don't want to break. A tradition that I don't want to break, or a prejudice that I have that, hey, drivers don't make money, drivers are looked down in society, they are at the bottom of the pyramid. But if you have no other option, you can do that for a while. I am not saying become a Uber driver. I am not saying become a CEO of a hot Silicon Valley company. I am not saying that. I am saying this is what Krishnamurti says, and this is what we have to understand. I must be rid of the hindrances in order to realize the totality of life. The totality of life. Now we say, I must be rid of the hindrances in order to realize the totality of life. So, you make an effort to get rid of these hindrances. But in fact, in your desire to conquer truth, I don't know if that is what we want to conquer, but let's read on. But in fact, in your desire to conquer truth, okay, I see. By truth, he means here the hindrances, because that is reality, that is truth, that you have these problems, these fears, these prejudices. But in fact, in your desire to conquer truth, You are merely running away from your hindrances when you say you must get rid of them. So, let's take a breather and we'll end the podcast with this. When we say we'll get rid of them and we run away from the hindrance, actually we run into something called escape. We are all the time escaping, going for a nice long walk, going to the zoo, going to Banff, the nice national park in Canada, going on a European vacation, which people do here from India or from USA as well. But when you come back, what? The problem is still there. So that's what he means by running away and escaping. Now, when I say go for a morning walk is an escape, it is not if your routine is that. It is if you do that and don't do anything the rest of the day. I am sure you are getting into it, into action, what action is. Don't listen to people who say, oh, this is not what Krishnamurti means by action. Well, he means exactly what he says. In the middle of life, in the now, in the present, without going into the past and bringing out the blockages in your mind, the hindrances from the past. In the present, meeting life head on, you will find that you are blocked from doing certain things. You will be stopped by people, by relationships, by ideas. And these are what you have to overcome, in the process of which you will find out what your internal hindrances are, and what your internal beliefs are, and if they are a hindrance. So we shall revisit or restart our reflection on Krishnamurti from here, from where he says, because your longing for truth is so great, you run away from your hindrances. So in trying to conquer your hindrances, you are like a fish caught in a net, whereas in the movement of action, you will become aware of the hindrances, and in that awareness, you will be freed of these hindrances, because you will understand their cause. You are trying to get rid of hindrances because you are wanting truth, while before you wanted a savior, masters, discipleship, heaven, etc. Now you want liberation in the same way. So you say, I must get rid of hindrances, and you make a tremendous effort, a desperate effort to get rid of them. Whereas to understand the totality of life, you cannot come to it or realize it or understand it through effort, because effort is merely an endeavor to overcome something. So do not make an effort to be rid of hindrances. In the movement of action, and action is always in the present, not in the dead past. In that movement of action, in the present, you will be aware why your actions are not complete? What prevents you from completing that particular action? Then you will know the cause. So come back tomorrow to episode number 85. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.